On behalf of Penn Jersey Pool and Spa, glad you're here. Really appreciate it for tonight's program, what you need to know about the chlorine shortage. If I had to rewrite this title again, I probably would have put a colon on the end and said, what do you need to know about the chlorine shortage, colon, looking forward. Today, we're going to be looking at the alternatives. We're going to be looking at strategies to take care of our clients and whatnot, and really trying to help you get a little extra knowledge to map out what's ahead. And that forward thinking piece is really where we're going to try and emphasize the conversation today. And we couldn't be happier here. Before we get started, I did want to pause and we have our illustrious president, Sarah Garahan from Blythe Sales on the line, who I know wanted to say hello to everybody.
Thank you. Yes, everyone, thank you so much for joining. As Todd said, we really appreciate you being here. We have a great panel here. Hopefully you will leave here armed with the knowledge that you need to take care of your clients and your businesses moving forward. These guys here are going to do their best to educate and inform you on what's going on with the chlorine shortage right now. And yeah, so please use the chat if you have any questions. I'm going to turn this over to Sean Bishop, who's the moderator for this evening. Sean Bishop of the Pool Experts. He's also the co-chair of our Penn Jersey Education Committee. Sean?
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, my name's Sean Bishop. I am superintendent of Pool Experts in New Jersey. I sit on the Penn Jersey and Nesbitt Board of Directors. I'll be moderating today's event. Again, you can use the Q&A feature if you have any questions, during our seminar here. Joining us today, we have Dave Fry of Jonas and Company, Alicia Stevens of Biolab Natural Chemistry, Jamie Novak of Natural Chemistry, Rebecca Thompson, Earth Sciences Lab and Pristine Blue, and Landon Efrady from Fluidra, who will be speaking to more mechanical alternative options. The focus today is going to be planning for the upcoming season, being prepared with alternative options to improve efficiencies in pool maintenance. So let's start off with Alicia Stevens. Thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you for all our presenters today. We appreciate your time and making sure that we're prepared for the future and confident moving forward.
Hi guys, happy Thanksgiving. I'm happy to be here with you tonight. So I'm going to do a couple of things. First, I'm going to start out with address the elephant in the room a little bit and talk just a little bit about the chlorine shortage, and then how we're going to move forward from that. So everybody knows that coming up into the next season, we're not going to have exactly the amount of chlorine, trichlor that we're used to having in the market. This came from a couple of different places. One, COVID has created an unexpected demand, and I think anybody in the industry realizes that it's just been a booming year all over the place because people are stuck at home and they want to build pools and take care of their pools and use their pools. So an unexpected strong demand is certainly contributed to the shortage that we're experiencing. And then natural disaster on top of that. Our facility in Lake Charles, Louisiana was impacted greatly by Hurricane Laura, and it has created some delays in supply, and it's definitely contributing to the shortage that we're seeing this year. So moving forward, we are working to address that situation. But for now, what we need to focus on is there is a 45% drop in the amount of trichlor that has been in the market, and we need to be able to adjust to that and address that and move forward with that. So it's going to be a uniquely challenging year for everyone. We'd really like to focus on the best way for you guys to move forward. We'd like to focus on how to make the chlorine that you do have last the longest, maximize the efficiency that you get from it, and really make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck from the chlorine that you've got so that it lasts as long as possible. One thing we do want to talk about, however, is that in light of the shortage that we're having with trichlor, we are, as a company, ramping up our liquid chlorine production. And liquid chlorine, while it may not be ideal, it may not be something that anybody loves to use or likes to use on their service routes or anything like that, it is a wonderful alternative in this situation to sanitize pools with. So we have ramped up our production of liquid chlorine, and using that moving forward to get through this year and to try and address the shortage is going to be a play that some of you guys are probably going to have to make. So we want to make sure that you know how to do that and you know how to effectively move forward with that. So just a couple of things about liquid chlorine, and then I'm going to send it over to Jamie to talk about maximizing some efficiencies. A couple of things about liquid chlorine differing from trichlor. One, make sure that you do have a stabilizer level in the pool. If you don't have it, you're adding it. We have our instant pool water stabilizer that's a liquid product that goes in very easily, but you do want to make sure that, I mean, liquid chlorine is unstabilized, so you do want to make sure that you have stabilizer in the water. And the second thing I want to point out with liquid chlorine is that it has a very high pH. So if you're using that, if you have to resort to that on your service routes or your weekly maintenance, then you need to be prepared to offset that pH. Trichlor has a low pH, so it's not something that you're necessarily used to. It's not something that would be part of your regular routine. So with liquid chlorine and you're adding it, you can expect your pH to constantly drift up. So you will have to adjust your regular pool maintenance, and you will have to adjust your balancing routine in order to compensate for that pH. But if you stabilize and you keep your pH balanced, then using liquid chlorine, it may not be ideal. It may be a little bit more labor intensive as far as how you add it and when you add it, but it is a good alternative if you're unable to get enough trichlor to get through your season. So just a couple things to think about, and a little reassurance that the liquid chlorine will be out there if you're having trouble finding other sources of chlorine. So with that, I'm going to send it over to Jamie to talk a little bit about some efficiencies that go along with whatever type of chlorine you end up using.
Thanks, Alicia. Hi, everybody. First and foremost, it is fantastic to be back talking to the Northeast market. This is my home. This is where I got my start in the industry 15 years ago, working first for Zodiac and then natural chemistry, obviously. So it's fantastic to see all of your names on the screen. I can't see your faces, but I do miss each and every one of you. And this is a territory that's near and dear to my heart. So thanks for having me tonight. Obviously, there's a lot of us on this panel and there's a lot of information to convey. So I'm talking fast. I'm a New Yorker, but if there's things that we touch on that you want more information on, please reach out anytime. We've got some really cool initiatives that we're working on the natural chemistry side of the business that can really help with this efficiency conversation. So the whole point is, as Alicia said, you really want to maximize what you're using for your sanitizing program, whatever that may be. So one of the things that we really stress is that by incorporating a blended product, for example, like an enzyme product that has maybe other components, it can really take that burden off and it can improve efficiencies by breaking down non-living waste that you typically would chemically burn up with chlorine. So again, I stress non-living because that's what enzymes break down, is non-living waste. So by incorporating that into your maintenance routine, you will see a major benefit. So that's something that I don't want to get too far into specifics and technicalities and things like that on this call, but I did want to put that idea out there. And just in the conversations, I've had many conversations with people over the months. This is a unique time in our industry. It's a time where we need to make adjustments. If you look at what happened with Zoom and technology, back in March, maybe I used Zoom a lot because I worked remote, but not a lot of people had adapted to incorporating that into their daily life. And guess what? Today we can't live without it. So that's really what I'm hoping that people will get. The bright side to this situation is that there are sometimes better ways to do things and other products that can help take that burden off. So, touching on that conversation, Alicia had mentioned the liquid stabilizer product. That is a great addition if you're having to manually add stabilizer to the water. Being able to add it in liquid form is going to save you guys time and effort trying to get where you typically would need granular to dissolve. So that's a way that you can improve efficiency. Additionally, phosphate removal is also going to help with efficiency by removing problem-causing phosphate. So there's a lot of different specialty technologies that can make a difference and improve the overall experience for your consumers. So, obviously this is not a natural chemistry only seminar or town hall, so I don't want to go too far into detail. But what I do want to tell you guys is that we have some pretty cool tools that have launched this year. And there's 3 that I'll mention briefly, and then please reach out to us for more information or our local reps. The first one We've got our Pro Series app, which actually will, it's brand new, and it allows you guys to create customer databases, give water recommendations. It's fantastic. It's free. Download it for free on the App Store. It's just Pro Series Pool and Spa. Highly recommend that you guys play around with that. And that's going to give you tips as well, efficiency tips. So secondarily is a major focus from us as a manufacturer on training. So Alicia is our training and education manager, and she is really helping the natural chemistry side of the business with some new initiatives for 2021. The first is a live training feature where you as the dealer can go on our website and request 30 minutes of custom training. So it's pretty cool. You get to have your own one-on-one session and ask anything that you want. The second is coming January 1st. These are going to be training modules where you guys can go through pre-recorded modules and take a quiz at the end and then get certified. So those are a couple of really cool things that we're doing this year to help with the education that's going to be needed, because there's a lot of new water out there and there's a lot of inexperienced pool owners that are going to need our help. So I hope I wasn't too long-winded, but really appreciate your time, and thanks for having me.
Okay, so we're going to go to David Fry now from Jonas and Company.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean, Todd, and Sarah, for having me on the panel. The other four individuals, these are well-known people in the industry. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I can't believe it, but I started at Jonas in 1979. So I've been in the industry a long time. I've never seen anything quite like 2020. First of all, the great demand due to COVID, and then the natural disasters. We have informed all of our customers back in September that Jonas will be putting all of our customers on allocation for the next 6 months on trichlor, dichlor. Our supplier has secured enough pounds to Jonas to cover our production for 2020. So we cannot sell extra pounds over the next 6 months due to the catastrophe. We are not looking for new customers if they want trichlor, dichlor, but we do have all the specialties. We have a biquinite line. Remember Bacrosil. Jonas has a full line of biquinites. We have a lot of Cal Hypo. That used to be used a lot in the 80s and 90s for everyday pool maintenance. HTH, if everybody can remember HTH back in the 80s and 90s. But I believe Cal Hypo will become very, very tight come the spring. So I don't know how much Cal Hypo capacity is out there, but Jonas is stocking up on as much Cal Hypo as possible. Again, there's going to be a major shortage of pounds, major. I don't know who's going to be cut short, but we can assure all of Jonas's customers, we will have enough pounds to cover you through 21 season. And any new customers, we are still looking. We have specialties, but we do not have any extra trichlor or dichlor right now. So, but thank you for having me on the panel. Again, I've been in the industry 42 years. If there's a bunch of questions, I'll try to answer them as honestly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. All right, so we have Rebecca Thompson, Earth Sciences Lab and Pristine Blue.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. And Todd, Sean, and Sarah, thank you as well. David, thank you for making me feel young, because I've only been in the industry for 20 years, 21 in February. So thank you for letting me feel young for a few minutes on this thing. You know, we have, as Pristine Blue, we have a product to offer that will help you save on the chlorine that you currently are using. Because with the Pristine Blue system, You can cut down on the amount of chlorine. Pristine Blue is an EPA registered bactericide and algicide. So it will take over some of the killing of bacteria that your chlorine is doing, thus making your chlorine last longer. For customers who aren't interested in that kind of a system, we also have our algae shield, which has been shown to help service guys cut down on the amount of chlorine that they're using, and also retail customers of ours. With our algicide and other algicides, you are saving your chlorine because the algicide is in there killing the algae that your chlorine would be killing. So that's another way to help you save on your chlorine, no matter what algicide you're using. Of course, I would prefer you use mine. Sorry, Jamie, had to throw that in there for you guys. But it is a good algicide in the fact that the way the molecule is made, it does bounce off itself. So it is moving throughout the water and killing and getting into places where, you know, the water doesn't always push all of your chemicals into, which will help you save your chlorine that you have. We are compatible with trichlor and dichlor, which are going to be on a shortage, but we are also, as Alicia said, there is going to be a push for more liquid chlorine, and we are compatible with liquid as well. With all of our products, as David mentioned, the cow hypo, you can use the cow hypo with our algae shield product. There are other products on the market. Please find something that will help you and your customers save their chlorine for the 2020 season. As Jamie said, enzymes help. We have an enzyme in our product line that will help you, again, get rid of some of that non-living bacteria or non-living organisms that are in the water to help your chlorine not have to worry about killing those. I'm available. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Sean?
Thank you, Rebecca. And we have Landon Efredi from Fluidra.
Thank you, Sean. Nothing like the least for last. I mean, what was it? Best for first. Wait, what am I? So my name's Landon. I am with Fluidra, which if you're not familiar with that word, that's okay. It's relatively new. We are synonymous with Jandy or Nature 2, which we'll talk a little bit more about, or Polaris. It's all one big happy family, much like Penn Jersey. But my main point here is, as I'm not a chemical specialist, and I really don't even want to talk about strictly Jandy products. I would kind of like to talk about all the equipment alternatives that'll help you navigate this space. So the main focus of this is opportunity. This is nobody's fault. Nobody started the COVID here. Nobody started the shortage. Nobody started the fires or whatever else happened. But we do have a good opportunity, and this is a chlorine shortage. We're not going to be devoid of chlorine. So it's not like everybody has to jump ship and flip all these pools into salt pools or bromine or some sort of other wild product. You can stick to your normal service schedules and just add in some other things. So, as you guys kind of ask some questions, we can go over some of the other equipment options. On the Jandy side of things, we have Nature 2, which is a mineral system, kind of similar to the algicides that they were talking about before. It is a copper and silver ionized metal, basically, that stays chelated or sequestered into an aluminum molecule, and that stops it from infiltrating your equipment. But that'll kill any bacteria and help reduce your chlorine usage. There's also a lot of companies that do UV and UV ozone systems. I don't know if Todd sent some of the handouts out with your invitations for the meeting tonight, but the bigger manufacturers all have systems. CMP has a great system. Their AOP or their ozone system. Pentair's BioShield is a phenomenal product. The Hayward UV03 is one of the best ones on the market as well. And then there's some smaller companies. There's Solax has a great UV ozone system. Delta has a phenomenal UV system where you can achieve some very high flow rates depending on your application. So there's a lot of avenues around this. So if you guys have some questions about some of the equipment, about UV, about ozone, please ask. I don't want to get into the weeds on every single product, but please feel free to ask questions. And the first one to ask a question we'll get a nice little Jandy JXI cell phone charger. So that'll be it. And Todd will make sure he gets me the name and address of whomever asked the very first equipment question.
Okay, we do have a question from John Hunter. Will there be any POP available to help educate the consumer?
I can speak to that on my end if that's okay.
Okay.
We do have some exciting tricks up our sleeve and some exciting things coming down the pike. And for any of you that have used natural chemistry over the years or been familiar with the brand, maybe this guy to my right looks a little familiar. So stay tuned for some exciting, cool things that we're going to do to try to have a conversation with consumers and give them tips and tricks. But absolutely, yes, POP will be coming.
Okay, it's was mentioned the handouts that Landon mentioned says we'll go out tomorrow with a follow-up email.
Okay,
we
sorry.
also have some from Natural Chemistries as well. That'll all be sent out with a follow-up email tomorrow. That looks fantastic, Landon.
Let's get some questions.
Dave, you had a question here. You said he couldn't hear very well from William. It says current Jonas customers are covered for the 2021 based on 2020 orders. Is that correct?
That is correct. That we sent every single customer their allocation for 2021. Yes.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see. We do have the question: how long is this shortage expected to last? I would certainly assume that the goal is to get up and running as quickly as possible. I think that's still an too early to determine exactly, but obviously, working hard to get back into the full flow of things, which is obviously why it's important for us to have a good answer for our customers, and not only that, but making them aware so that they're not surprised by this, next season. In the Northeast region, we're lucky enough to have a break for some of us, at least in service end, to be able to give them a heads up essentially and make a plan and show confidence that we're able to have something set and have an answer for them and get them through the next season, and then possibly make some alternative choices for the future that'll minimize some of the chlorine necessity that we've had to deal with.
I am able
Oh,
to say from a biolab standpoint that plans are underway to rebuild the facility that was impacted by Hurricane Laura. So as far as timelines, hard to say really. We have some ideas, but nothing we're really willing to put a date on, but plans are underway for us to get that facility back up and running as soon as possible.
All right. Let's see, we have a comment from Nicole. We as dealers need to educate the consumer as to keeping and maintaining chlorine levels low if they're using mineral systems, etc. They aren't good at monitoring levels and many other chlorine.
Yeah, so whatever product you're using on the equipment side, whether it be minerals or a UV system or an ozone system, all of us manufacturers tend to claim sort of the same reduction. We all typically say 50% reduction in chlorine. But that's, of course, arbitrary depending on bather load, which would be the case with any chemical. There are products out there that can sense a little bit of the water chemistry in the pool. Fluidra has a product called Blue Riot. Hayward has a product called Fin, which they recently acquired. There's also some more, which are relatively low cost. I think $300 or $400 to the dealer. And those more expensive ones, obviously there's chemical controllers and sense and dispense, and Telechem is a very good system that Pentair has. So if that isn't a problem you think you're going to encounter, it might behoove you and the homeowner to offer them some sort of system in order to monitor their chemistry remotely.
That's a very good point. We have from Dustin, what kind of price jumps are also expected on chlorine cost? And is it possible that equipment manufacturers will run specials on salt, UV, ozone?
For you, buy one, get one free on everything. Nobody wants to touch that
We've
question,
seen price increases from 20% up to, some distributors have price increases up to 75%. So if you go, you can see these prices jump all over the place over the next 6 months.
Landon, we have one, I think, directed for you. Can you list different products that can substitute for chlorine?
Yeah, so I'm not a fan of full off substituting for chlorine. I think complementing chlorine is probably a better way to sort of look at it.
I agree.
Yeah, so personally, and don't tell any of my coworkers or any of my bosses, but I think minerals is a great way to do things, but it's not the best. I truly believe that UV and UV ozone systems are probably the best thing for pools, especially coming into 2021, since we're going to be coming into the Department of Energy laws with variable speed pumps. A lot of pools are going to be running longer. You know, the old 2 horsepower super pump circulated for 8 hours thing is going to be gone. It's going to be more 20-hour filtration cycles at lower speed. And when you're using a UV ozone or a UV ozone combination system, it's all about contact time. So the more that water circulates, the more the UV light comes in contact with the water, the better that sanitizes and the less chlorine you're going to use. I would definitely start to reach out to your Pentair rep, your Hayward rep, your CMP rep, your Dell rep, your Solax rep. If you don't know who it is, just call me. I know all of them. I'd be happy to help you. I'm sure everybody else here does as well. But that's the direction that I would go. And of course, minerals are phenomenal as well. And minerals tend to be a little bit cheaper than a UV ozone system. And there's also some repeat revenue that you generate from that. Mineral cartridges have to be replaced once a season. So it's a good reason to bring somebody into your store, or it's a good excuse for a service visit.
And I have to say, I used to rep Nature too. Still a big believer in the product. You know, minerals in general are great technologies and actually work with a lot of the other products that we're all talking about. So you're going to be using things like enzymes or phosphate removers to go along with that system. You're just basically trying to make everything else work better. And you know, the old way of doing things was just to throw chlorine at everything. And I think what we're looking at right now is a better way of doing things in general. Like I think somebody touched on it earlier, and I don't know who it was, but it's a problem right now, but it is going to lead to people doing things, you know, a little bit better in the future. And I think we really need to focus on that when we talk to consumers, especially, and I know I touched on this briefly, there's going to be a lot of new water out there, myself included. I'm finally pulling the trigger after 15 years in the pool industry. I'm getting a pool of my own. Landon, I'm going to call you. But can I win that little cell phone holder? But no, I think there's going to be a need for education, you know, at the dealer level, but even more so at the consumer level. So anything we can all do, any ideas that you guys have of things that we can do to help consumers and help get that message across with the efficiencies, please reach out. You can contact me directly at my very long BioLab email address, or just marketing@ncbrands.com. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas.
One thing I do want to add too is just that the overall concept here, whether it's through equipment or chemicals or whatever, is the more garbage you take out without relying on your chlorine to do it, the better your chlorine's going to be and the longer it's going to last. So whether that's better filtration, it's using a clarifier, using an enzyme to break things down, a phosphate remover to take things out, whatever that is, just focus on the fact that the more stuff that you can take out physically, or the more stuff that you can break down without your chlorine having to do it, that leaves your chlorine to do the most important job, which is killing bacteria and keeping swimmers safe. So if you take out as much distraction as you possibly can, I don't know a better way to put it, then your chlorine, you're going to use less, and it's going to be able to do a better job at doing the number one job, which is, you know, killing bacteria and keeping swimmers safe. So just focus on taking the garbage out.
Alicia, you brought up a good point about liquid chlorine wreaking havoc on your pH, and salt pools do the same thing. They wreak havoc on your pH. And you know, we've all seen the sort of fluctuations of different water and pH causing havoc on equipment, heater failures, scaling and etching on pools. When you use enzymes, algicides, UV ozone, minerals, all these things are pH neutral for all intents and purposes, and aren't going to cause your LSI index to start yo-yoing all around on your pool. So it makes your water much healthier.
And that kind of touches a little bit with, you know, tell us, next comment, tell us about the benefits of salt. It's fantastic.
I mean,
I agree. And
Wait, does that mean he wins the cell phone thing?
depends who asked it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
a conversation Landon and I had actually recently. My company, we use an Easy Pull product, which lowered the need for trichlor for us drastically. I think we've dropped about 60 to 70% in some, depending on, again, bather load and everything. But and we use that in conjunction with saltwater pools. That cuts down the usage for the salt system. It cuts down the deterioration over time. So those two things working together, allows both of us to work a little bit better in conjunction rather than one. There's not just one solid answer for any of these pools or any of the the issues that each pool individually is dealing with. Let's see, we have Joshua. Are distributors also being limited on poundage they can purchase versus direct purchase dealers, or will direct purchase companies need to outsource to distributors to fulfill needs?
Nobody wants to
I
answer that
believe
one.
distributors would be the first ones to be cut off from pounds. It's going to be quite interesting to see who is able to secure pounds and who is not. We hear one major distributor is going to bring in pounds from China. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 6 months on poundage, on trichlor and dichlor. As Biolab Natural Chemistry people say, that Biolab plant produced 45% of the trichlor in the U.S. market. And they will not produce anything, I don't believe, in 2021. So you take those pounds out of the market, somebody's going to end up being short. So, and I believe some distributors may be the ones holding the short stick. So.
With the high demand for pools this year and going into 2021, are the equipment manufacturers producing more alternative lines for distribution and dealers?
So I can tell you from a Fluidra standpoint, we've never had a shortage this year. We had plenty of obstacles, but one of them wasn't our alternative sanitizers. We were able to keep up with the demand this year, which was unpredicted with our salt systems and our Nature 2 products. So obviously I don't know for sure. I don't work in logistics, but I would imagine now that we realize the demand and now that we know that there's going to be even more attention paid to salt and minerals and other alternative sanitizers, that we are ramping up production and do not plan on running out any products. And I'm sure, Pentair and Hayward are doing the exact same thing. I think Hayward's getting ready to release a new product in this space. Is similar to a complement to their UVO3, but a little bit better price point. So we're all very well aware of this and are ready to support the industry as best as possible.
All right. I think this was a test on my pronunciation. Potassium monopersulfate.
That's a hard one. So come on.
I think I got it pretty well.
Yeah, you did good.
Let's see. And I think you kind of touched on that a little bit. We saw an equipment shortage from this year. Is there enough product to keep us with the ozone, salt, Nature 2, mineral sanitizer demands?
Yeah, and look, I would make this a part of your opening pitch as you start to send out service contracts. Start the education process, letting them know that there might be an issue with chlorine this year, that there are some alternative products, that they don't necessarily take you off of chlorine, and they'll save you money in the long term. Getting somebody on an enzyme program does reduce your need for other chemicals and does increase your water quality, and it's a good program to be on going forward. Same could be said for UV, ozone, or minerals. So it's not like a temporary solution, like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I need you to buy 15 buckets of chlorine right now because it's going to run out, and this is a short-term thing, and you're going to have to store it in your house, and your kids are probably going to mess with it. I mean, you can make long-term transitions to generate revenue and do the right thing at the same time. Everybody can win.
I think that's such a great point, Landon. Like, it just a better way of doing things. And I know I'll probably say that till I'm blue in the face this year, but it's just speeding up the consumer adoption of doing things a little bit differently than they did in the past. And so everyone's so even my own father, you know, I had to beat into his head that we use different products in your pool than just what you're typically used to doing. So, you know, it's a different approach. It's a better approach. You know, consumers do want to know what's new, what's exciting, what the best way to do something is. So we really need this to stress that and position these additional products as beneficial, not just, okay, it's going to help your chlorine to work better, but what are the other benefits that you're going to see? And shameless plug, with enzymes, you're not going to clean your filter as often. You're not going to have unsightly scum lines at the surface that you're having to scrub. You're just going to see an overall better water clarity. So, you know, all of those benefits, like as a consumer, I want to know what it's going to save me in terms of time and effort and maybe money in some cases, but mostly time and effort, because that's my most precious resource. So, especially these days, but just telling that story and whatever we can do as manufacturers to help you guys convey that message. You know, I think it's going to be hard to convey it, because if the demand is anything like it was in 2020, you're going to have lines out the door and possibly be 6 feet apart from one another trying to yell at each other the benefits of specialty products. But, you know, we'll figure out a way to get creative with it. One of the things that I noticed this year is that a lot of retailers took the opportunity to redesign their retail spaces during this crisis, you know, the COVID crisis, I mean. So, you know, a lot of customers or a lot of retailers that maybe had to experience shutdowns or whatever it was, they took a different look at their retail stores and tried to figure out ways that they could set things up differently, maybe give it a refresh, new racking, new shelving, signage, whatever. So I think taking that opportunity to give your pool stores a refresh if you're in retail, this is a good time to do it. So
But don't forget too, weaponize your manufacturers. I mean, there's 70 some people on this call. I would venture a guess that all 70 of you either sell Jandy, Pentair, or Hayward, and we all will pay and help you co-brand marketing and advertising. I mean, we just launched another selfless plug. We just launched a website on your Fluidra Rewards account where you can go in and it's on-demand, semi-customizable marketing. So you can go in, put in your company logo, pick the Jandy product that you want to market. Nature 2 would be a good option, or Salt System. And then you can print off at no cost to you whatsoever, 100 or 1,000 postcards and send them out with your service contracts. Start the conversation early. And we're not the only ones that would do that. Any of your manufacturers, if you say, hey, I'm going to sell your product this year, this is how I'm going to navigate this, can you help me with marketing? Nobody's going to tell you no. And if they tell you no, call me.
One point. Oh, go ahead. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
We've sent out extra flyers to any dealers that have requested it, and extra literature to help, you know, move your customers over, or to educate your customers on additional products besides just throwing chlorine at it. You know, with our algicide, I've heard so many people say, well, you know, if I get an algae bloom, I just throw chlorine at it. Well, we can't afford to do that this year. So we've got to use the other products, the specialty products, instead of just throwing chlorine at it. Sorry about that, Alicia.
No, that's okay. It kind of leads to the point I wanted to make, which was this can be a little bit overwhelming, especially to consumers, because if you haven't been talking to them about phosphate removers and enzymes and clarifiers and algicides and all of these things, that it can be a lot to take in all at the same time, which makes your marketing even more important and your POP even more important. A couple of things. We offer a product it's multidimensional. It's got enzymes, it's got phosphate removers, it's got clarifier, all in the same bottle. So it's products like that. Ours is called Pool Perfect Max with phosphate, but our products like that can certainly make it easier to have the conversation. Instead of you need an enzyme, you need a clarifier, you need a phosphate remover, you need an algicide, go for some of those products that are blended together, so that you can say this product, this one thing, can really help you, you know, make a bigger difference. So try to simplify as much as you can for the customers also.
That's natural chemistry's gateway drug. That's what that is. Start with that, and then you're addicted on everything.
Absolutely.
It's your multivitamin for your pool, right?
It's how we're going to take over the world.
Publicly correct. Come on.
We're going to take over the world. You just don't know it yet.
That's awesome.
I think
questions?
this is directed to Landon there. Will Fluidra be giving out rebates?
From anonymous attendee.
Anonymous.
would we be just generating rebates? Is that a consumer rebate? I'm assuming it would be the question. We only do consumer rebates on our pool cleaners. We typically do not do a consumer rebate on our equipment products. So I know last year both Pentair and Hayward did some consumer rebates, which was very beneficial for them. So, but I don't think we will.
Okay, and let's see, what about borates? Are they effective?
Well, I'm not qualified to answer that. So.
I can take that. Borates can be very effective at a lot of things. So definitely, I think they're underutilized in our industry as a whole, no matter who's marketing them and selling them. I think that they could be used a whole lot more. Borates are great at softening water. They're great at making water sparkle. They're great, clarifiers. So anytime you're adding borates to the water, then you're helping everything else in the pool, including your chlorine, be more effective and efficient. So it's definitely something that you can add to make the situation better for chlorine, as far as making it last a little bit longer. And again, take out some of the distractions that can eat up your chlorine a lot faster than it needs to. So I love borates. If I had a pool, I wish I did. I don't. But if I did, that is definitely something I would put in a pool. But I think it can make a big difference on just the overall efficiency of everything that you're putting in the pool.
I have a pool and I use borates in mine.
They are wonderful, aren't they?
Yes, I use borates with Pristine Blue, and it's crystal clear water.
After almost 20 years, I still don't have a pool of my own.
Smart.
Let me just tell you, this is not the year to choose to do it, by the way. Could I have picked a worse year to be in the industry and finally pull the trigger, right?
You could barely find a blow-up pool.
Yeah. Well, that sparked it.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be such a great thing for our industry. I mean, for years, we've been preaching to people that you should have backyard staycations, and then the world just kind of set that stage for us. So, I see this as, the demand is here to stay for quite a bit. Not to mention the stigma. I know in the past we've heard that people have almost looked at having a pool in the backyard as a negative because, oh, it's too much work, it's too much this. By giving these people these tricks and tips on efficiencies, you're actually helping them do less work on their pool too. So it's a win-win of creating a better user experience for pool owners ultimately.
Absolutely, and my personal opinion, we're not going to get a quick answer to COVID and everything's going to go back to running rampant and everybody's back out on vacations, and this is going to be a long-term process, and I think there's still going to be a huge amount of people that are still preferring to stay at home as much as possible and utilize their backyard.
Yeah, and we've taken some anecdotal surveys of some large builders in the area, some smaller builders, and a large portion of them are pretty much booked out into 2021 and possibly 2022. So the pool demand definitely isn't going to go anywhere fast. And a good point that you guys had all brought up about chemicals being relatively easy to get into. Once you get over the hurdle of doing something different. A lot of these equipment alternatives are also very easy to set up as well. Nature 2 requires no extra work. You just plumb it in line right after the heater, like you would any other chlorine system. UV systems are the exact same. You're going to plumb them in right after the heater, and there's really not much work after that. You're going to put them on the filter pump relay so they don't run without water, but that's intuitive if you've done any sort of extra equipment on the pad anyway. The only place where it might get a little hairy is ozone systems. Some of those need a chamber to get rid of some of the extra O3 molecules, but a lot of the products are kind of ready-made to just be installed, easy to go. Like the Solax one is probably the most inexpensive on the market right now. It's a great way to get into it and reduce some chlorine need. And it actually has a built-in flow switch. So it regulates how much water goes through it. You don't have to worry about dialing pumps at all. You can pump, I think they say up to 100 gallons per minute at the system, and it'll direct what it needs through the UV, and the rest of it, it'll let bypass. So there are easy ways to get into the equipment side as well.
Many consumers buy chlorine at big box or discount pool suppliers, and many consumers have no knowledge that Cal Hypo tablets cannot be used in inline or offline chlorinators. We, as pool professionals, must make consumers aware of the dangers of using Cal Hypo tablets in chlorinators. I think that's certainly important. Informing our customers is very high on the needs for us moving forward, without a doubt.
I think we all have to take a little bit of responsibility here, and no matter what you make or sell or market or whatever, that education is the key across the board. So, I think we all have to step up and say it's my job to educate whoever I come in contact with, whoever I'm able to reach, because you're right, it is dangerous to do that, and there's a lot of different points of education that need to be happening. Change is hard. People need help with it, and I think as pool professionals, it's our responsibility to step up and do the best we can to help move that along.
Yeah, we're kind of all in this together. And, one thing I do want to mention, I see in the chat from John about the live training that I very quickly went through, hoping I wasn't going too long in my section. We launched that to much success. And in fact, Alicia's calendar is booked through December. So if you have any interest in doing spring custom live training, please book it sooner than later. We're overwhelmed and thrilled with how well received it's been. But the cool thing is, like, you sign up for this training, it's not just somebody talking at you, it is an engaging back and forth. And I think the very first person we did it with, she was shocked that she was the only person on the line, and she said, wait, this is just me. So it was great. It was almost like a sales meeting, one-on-one experience for her, and she didn't see it coming. So please note that if you book it, it's your time. You can go over whatever you want to learn. And then the modules will be great for kind of like a standardized training. Whereas, like, if you've got a new seasonal employee, we're going to make a module that is basic water chemistry, so that you aren't having to go through it with them one-on-one. You can just actually have them take the module or watch the module and then take the quiz, certifying that they've passed. So those are some tools. We had actually started working on these tools before everything hit. And so it just worked out perfectly in terms of timing that this was the year that they were going to launch. So again, the live is very popular. Book out sooner than later, and then the modules will be available in January.
We're doing the same thing, by the way. If you can request live trainings if you like. And then we have our Fluidra Pro Academy, and there's installation videos and instructional guides on there as well.
We've had our online training set up for years with the modules, and we're willing to do and ready to do online training as well.
We had a question. Would the use of solar covers reduce chlorine use?
Any cover would, sure.
Anything that reduces the amount of water you lose is going to help you, because you're not going to be adding fresh water and diluting the chlorine you have. And solar covers will definitely reduce evaporation and help keep water in your pool. So just through that alone, yes, it will help reduce the amount of chlorine that you lose.
We have kind of a double question. What percentage of dealers are now aware of this shortage, and what percentage of homeowners are now aware of this shortage? I assume that'd be a difficult question to answer. Who doesn't know? Obviously, the goal here is to get this information out, and for us to reach out, as many companies as possible to make sure they're aware and that they're preparing for the future. If anybody else has any comment on that?
I definitely couldn't put a number on it, but it's things like this are helping get the information out and helping people start to prepare for it.
On social media, of course, as well, is definitely broaden the reach of everybody being aware.
I think there's a lot more dealers that are aware of it than there are end users.
Certainly. Question for Landon. Is it possible to just drop in a salt cell into the Fusion in-ground, or does it just work with the Fusion Soft? And would it be possible to come up with the ozone and UV inserts for an easily switchable sanitization system?
Whoever this anonymous guy is needs to text me and identify himself. So
He
no,
knows you.
yeah, you cannot drop a salt cell into a Fusion in-ground. However, great segue, Mr. Anonymous. We do make a Fusion in-ground salt combination unit. So you can throw that one in the trash, buy a new one. It's the same unions, and you can drop it right in. We do have a mineral saltwater combination unit.
Same footprint, right? The Fusion Soft?
Yeah, the Fusion Soft, yeah. Exact same footprint.
Same footprint, perfect. What is going to be the most cost-effective unit to sell to the above-ground consumer? I think that's general question.
Well, actually, And I'm embarrassed. I did not mention the Frog system by King Technology. They also have a mineral system and they have an above ground version of it. That would probably be your most cost effective, aside from just changing your chemical consumption.
Any idea what effect this will have on big box? Big box suppliers, I assume.
Well, I'll do another shameless plug. All Jandy equipment is not sold through big box stores or online. It's through dealers only, through the trade. So it will have no effect on them because they can't sell our stuff anyway.
Very
The
good.
same with us. Pristine Blue and our algicides, our performance chemistry line is not sold through the big box stores.
High five.
But
Myself, as a service company, appreciates that. The fight, competition with the internet is a constant, ongoing battle, without a doubt.
and Jonas being a family-owned business, we do not sell big box. We only sell family-owned businesses for 75 years. So
Another high five.
we don't sell big box neither.
As we wrap up, do we have any other questions that anybody can answer? For anybody, please feel free to pop those in pretty quickly. We appreciate everyone's time, spending the time and the effort put out, and making sure that we're informing, our region on what's going to be needed.
Got one more in the Q&A, Sean.
Is bromine affected by this? Assuming the shortage, is bromine affected by this shortage?
Bromine is available. Again, if there's a high demand, it could get tight. But at this time, there is no shortage of brom tabs.
Like liquid chlorine, bromine cannot be stabilized in an outdoor pool.
All right.
Hi, Amy. We can see you on the screen now.
Hello, Amy.
Welcome.
Hey, everybody. Just a couple seconds. I wanted to thank everybody who participated this evening. My name is Amy Rulo. I'm the Vice President for Penn Jersey and also the President for NESPA. So I just want to thank everybody for their time this evening. But most importantly, I just want to remind everyone on this call, we are going live in January, and your participation is tantamount to make it successful for the Pool and Spa Show. So please make sure you register. And I look forward to everybody participating in it. Thank you so much this evening for everybody who took their time out of their after 5 hours to be a part of this. Sean, thank you for chairing the Education Committee. Todd and TBDA, thank you for all you do. Myself, Sarah Garahan, and the rest of the Executive Committee and the BOD for Penn Jersey. Appreciate all your time. Thanks, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy
Thanks,
Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much.